Welcome to Global Morning. I hope you're having an amazing day already. Yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful day. The weather, perfect. Everything, perfect. So, as you know, on Global Morning, we have lots and lots of conversation lined up for you for discuss today. So, just sit back, relax, and Global Morning will be back. In the next segment, we will go to the newspaper review. But like I said, sit back, relax. Global Morning will be back.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back. If you were just tuning in, this is Global Morning coming to you on Global Television from the nation's capital, Abuja. This morning, we're diving straight into the newspaper review, and after that, we'll join our guests for our interesting conversation today. But let us go straight up to the newspaper review at this moment. We start off with the Vanguard newspaper that says on page 5, reinstatement looms as prodigal son. Fubara gets 4 tough conditions. Interesting one for Fubara there and the River State government. On page 25 it says 66 Abiola's children failed DNA tests. Interesting. On page 13 it says it is too late for the group to recoup ahead of 2027 polls. That is coming from Professor Akaine. The big story here says Lagos to lose VAT revenue as warning northern states other benefits. You'll find that on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper, and that is on new tax laws. And then on page 12, page 6, it says Tinubu Buhari orders mourn as business mogul Dan Tata dies. That's a sad one there. Dan Tata is one person that has been very impactful in Nigeria, and we pray that his soul rests in perfect peace. We go to page 7 there that says how Ganduje jolted Tinubu quit ahead of ultimatum. And there are two writers there that say Al-Makura Akume emerge as front runners to succeed APC chairman. And then another writer there says APC governors meet in Benin, backs Ganduje's resignation, president's reform. Well, you'll find that on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Another story here says ex-IGP Adamu Onasser was case study, economic development as insecurity prevention strategy. That you would find on page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper. Now let's go to the next story here from the Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper. And Punch here says Ganduje's resignation sparks power contest as loyalists kick. On page 3 of the Punch newspaper, you'll find a story. On page 5, you'll see retired police officer rage over miserable pension. A writer there says, we regret serving Nigeria, says ex-core. On page 5 of the Punch newspaper, you'll see all of that story. The big story here says, David Mark may lead coalition battle against Tinubu. Page 3, and there are 3 writers there that say Arebeshola Ben Obi rejects national secretary offer. Another writer there says I'm ready to step down, says ADC chair Nwosu. And the last writer there says their efforts will fail. That's coming from the APC. Okay, you want to find out more about the story, get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper. Another story on page 30 of Punch newspaper here says that is on Rivers crisis. We must make heavy sacrifice for peace, Fubara tells supporters. We hope the whole drama and crisis in Rivers will come to an end in no time. Another story here on page 6 is NNPCL owes federal government 6.6 trillion naira unremitted royalties. That is coming from FAAC. And on page 4 there, another interesting one says why Northern Muslim opposed my presidency after Yar'Adua's death. Jonathan, from former president of Nigeria, Jonathan Ebele. And you want to find out more about that by getting yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper. It's still on the Punch newspaper. We have on page 116, page 16 and 17. It says how casualties of health workers pushes doctors out of practice. How casualization, I beg your pardon, how casualization of health workers pushes doctors out of practice. You want to find out how? Get yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper. And the last story here says Ogun, coming from Ogun State, Ogun 2027, heavyweights, middleweights and lightweights. That is a report on the 2027 elections coming up. Let us go straight. You want to find out more about all of the stories, grab yourself a copy of the Punch newspaper to know what is happening in your country this morning. Let's go next to the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian newspaper, the first story there is on page 5 says Governor Dapo Abiodun, my biggest challenge in office. Governor Dapo Abiodun tells us about his biggest challenge in office on page 5. And on page 3 there it says no room for violence in upcoming polls. NSA warns politicians. Still on the Guardian newspaper, on page 2 it says Chris Christian, 60 years have taught me pain as a eunuch. That is coming from a eunuch. You want to find out about his pain? Well, you get yourself a copy of the Guardian newspaper. And a big story here. The big story here says workers' financial insecurity deepens amidst violation of pension laws. You would find that story on page 8 and 9 of the Guardian newspaper. Another story here on page 2 says Tinubu, other African leaders canvass homegrown solutions to continent's economic challenges. That you would find on page 2. And then on page 35 here it says uncertainty trails resignation of Ganduje. Page 35. And on page 36, which is the last one here, it says Governor Aliyu reverts May salary to loan payable in 3 months. Interesting read, interesting stories on the Guardian newspaper. You want to find out more, get yourself a copy and you would know what's happening. Let's go to the Nation's newspaper. The first story here says Fubara Rivers peace terms, heavy bitter but necessary. And there are 2 riders that says beg supporters to accept new conditions for peace. Wike Governor Amewule makes public appearance after Abuja parley. You will find that on the page 2 of the Nation's newspaper. The next story here says APC chair battle for Ganduje's successor begin. You find that on page 4. Nigeria is a wonderful and interesting place. There is something to always, make it to something to always talk about, right? Yeah, so especially in the political space. You want to find out more about this? Get yourself a copy of the Nations. The next story here says Tinubu, Buhari, governors, others mourn as Dan Tata dies at 94. 94. You will find that on page 6 of that newspaper. That's talking about the Nation's newspaper. And then on page 4 here it says the struggle to succeed Yaradua by Jonathan. The struggle to succeed Yaradua by Jonathan. No, Jonathan is trying to tell us about his struggles. You want to find out more on the Nation's newspaper by grabbing yourself a copy of it. And the last story here says Chris's latest collection, sells out in a single day. Page 5. That's congratulations to him. You find out about that on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. Let's go next to the Tribune newspaper. The first story here says impersonators flee mop up UTME venues as jam tightens security. And there are 3 riders there says only 12% of candidates turn out for exams. Second rider says candidates arrested in Oka syndicate recruiting undergraduates for exam malpractice. Oluyede reveals. You find out about that story on page 6 of the Tribune newspaper. The next story here, which is on page 9 and 10, says new tax law. Despite huge benefits, Nigerians still express mixed feelings. Others commend Tinubu over tax reform. Some people say we have a president that's a tax master, and it's obvious that he's doing a great job, depending on how you want to see it in the tax scene. The next story that says insecurity north under siege. A rider there that says northern elders cry out, urge federal government to declare state of emergency on insecurity across the north. This is a sad one, and we hope and pray that all of this will come to an end soonest. We also urge the president to kindly act on this plea from the northern elders. And the next story, you find out about that on page 5 of the Tribune newspaper. Next story on page 5 here says group condemns AGF officer for sending Osun local government correspondence to APC secretariat. That is on page 5, still on page 5. And then on page 8 you see Tinubu northern governors others mourn as Aminu Dan died at 94. We pray that his soul rest in perfect peace and the family will be comforted by God Almighty. Let's go to the next story. There it says at Elewura's coronation, Makinde promises to complete one route in 11 months. That is on the page 2 of Tribune newspaper. We hope Makinde fulfills his promises. The very last story there says PDP crisis latest. INEC's reply to NGO models issue. Commission denies writing PDP, refusing to treat correspondence signed by Koshoedo. Okay, let's go to the very last paper. That is the news this day. this day newspaper. The first story there says George Elombi emerges next president of Afreximbank. Orama bows out September, commits to grow assets to $250 billion in 10 years from $42.7 billion. We wish him all the best on his new assignment. This story here, when presidential aide blocked Yar'Adua's letter to National Assembly, says Jonathan, and then you find on page 6 of this day newspaper. And on INEC it says, we didn't advise PDP that we won't honor Koshedo's letter. That is coming from INEC, and you find that on page 6. APC backs Tinubu's policy, says, and his resignation in tandem with party's evolution. I'm sure there's a lot to unravel with this story here. I'm talking about the chairman of the APC resigning, but let's see how it plays out. The next story here says Tinubu will be governors. Others mourn Mugu. Dantata was part of the family of traders and merchants who built famous granite pyramids of the First Republic. You want to find out about that? You get yourself a copy of this day newspaper. And on the very last story here says pressure mounts on Akume to resign as North Central renews clamor for APC national chairmanship seat. That you'll find on page 16 of page 10, I beg your pardon, of this day newspaper. You want to find out more about all the stories we have highlighted this morning to you on the show? Get yourself a copy of all the various newspapers that we have highlighted, and you get to read about more details. Right about now, we're going into the next section of Global Morning, where we'll have our guests come discuss national issues. Today we're talking about, in the spirit of the 2027 election, we're talking about INEC and artificial intelligence. Yes, it is possible. Let us see the prospects as we speak to a professional. We will be back on Global Morning to delve into that conversation. Do stay with us, please.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning, the top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, welcome back to Global Morning. If you were just tuning in, this is Global Television and Global Morning on the show, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am your host, Priscilla Obasi. Before we went on that break, I told you that on Global Morning today, it's going to be an interesting conversation like it always is, right? So today we're talking about INEC and artificial intelligence. Yeah, we often hear about, we've heard about artificial intelligence, but my curiosity stems from how we can use artificial intelligence in our electoral system. We all crave for a free and fair election, and I believe with technology now, things can be easily achieved. I have a guest on the show this morning. He is a computer guru. I'm sure he has a lot of knowledge to share with us this morning when it comes to artificial intelligence. Yes. So my guest this morning is Ayodeji Ate Joseph. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Global Morning this morning, Joseph.
Thank you very much, Priscilla.
Oh,
Good
so
morning.
great to have you this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so you are Nigerian, yes, and I'm sure, like myself, you are also burdened with the fact that it is almost, some people have termed it impossible to have a free and fair election in Nigeria. A lot of persons have given up, on the tendency or on voting generally in Nigeria. People have become apathy. They no longer support any political party just because they believe Nigerian election does not count. I believe with artificial intelligence, all of this, can be made better. Yes, the system can be better with artificial intelligence. We see artificial intelligence doing a lot of mysterious things. Sometimes you're looking at those things and you're wondering, how is this real? Or how did they make this up? So many people's images have even been tarnished with artificial intelligence. But we can use it for, a better cause, I believe. And I believe that our government will be open to, using this in the electoral system. First of all, let's start by you defining to our viewers what artificial intelligence is for those of us that are still, or for those that are still, trying to grasp this technology. What is artificial intelligence, please?
So basically, I think the last conversation we had, I was able to say artificial intelligence, like the name implies artificial, it's a technology that uses human inputs, more like it's something that simulates human ideology. Like it's not something that thinks on its own. Basically, AI, artificial, like the other day I made example of your phone, things that your phone could do, Alexa in the house, the Siri on your iPhone, and all those are AI. They basically react to what you give and what you say. So that's artificial intelligence.
Okay, so can you, in simple terms, how is it different to say the Beavers machine? I'm sure you're conversant with the Beavers machine, being a tech person, and the regular computer programs. Can you explain in simple terms what AI is and how it's different from, say, the Beavers machine that we are familiar with?
Okay, so basically, I'll just start with giving you a brief rundown of the voters' turnout in the last few years, let's say from 2007 to 2023. I think since since the return of democracy in 1999, we've had, I can't really, let's just say about 7 to 9 elections. Can't remember, but from 2007, that's like 6 years, 6 different elections. You notice that the voters' turnout has been dropping right from time. Okay, so in 2007 we have like 57.5%. 2011 we have like 53. It dropped. 2015 we had like 43. Then 2019 we had like 34. Then the lowest turnout so far, when we had about 93.4 million registered voters, we had only 25 million votes cast. That was cast, and that's like 26.7% of the total registered voters. So this dropped almost by 50% over these last 16 years. So, and 2023 had the highest number of voters registered, which means we're supposed to have higher number of people
Voters, yeah.
that voted. Yeah, but I feel like along the year, a lot of people feel their vote does not count. And that's because of the experience with the Beavers machine in 2019. Beavers is actually a game changer, really, but we need to get to that point where we tell ourselves the actual truth when it comes to Beavers. Beaver was brought in for a very great cause, but I feel like it can be better. INEC built then they built Beavers, but then the whole IRF thing glitches. If you're giving us a system that says there will be live transmission of results, it means when I'm voting in my local government, in Kababunu local government, in my village, the name of my village is Ikebunu. If I'm voting there, it means the moment I vote, the number should be counting in Abuja. We do not have to wait till the end of the vote that day before the machine is taken to the local government. The vote is counted at local government, then taken to Lokoja, then taken to Abuja. That's why we see at Collation Center, or is it called Collation Center in Abuja, where it is being counted, you will hear that, they will call Kwara State, they will say, Kwara State has not yet arrived. Not arrived where? Like, you basically told us that Beavers is going to do this. So why do we still
Beavers
have
will do
to
the journey.
Yeah, so why do we still have to wait till the Beavers or the materials, everything travel directly to Abuja? So I feel like with AI-driven solutions, we can really get over this. Technology without integrity or transparency is not going to cut it for us. Let Beavers do what it's meant to do. If INEC has said this is what Beavers is here to do, let Beavers do. We are just 2 years away from election, and I feel we can just, for example, for voters verification, the facial recognition basically do not really work. People thumbprint and it will not bring out their details. So a lot of people can't.
Do you think this is from the Beavers machine? Is it that the Beavers technology is not good enough, or is there some foul play in the system?
Like, sincerely, I wouldn't know if there are foul play, but I just feel the system should be built better. And when you build a system, with time, you upgrade, you update. That's why our phones have updates every now and then. And that is because every time you use your phone or a particular app, Instagram or the rest, there are people who take note of every little glitch.
Yeah.
They will always report it back to the maybe to the mobile phone operator or to the app, or they will always report it back. And that's why even there are people for example, there are people in Meta office that their duty is just to make, like, every time there's a new deployment, they use it and they give feedback. So that's why there will always be updates. So now we've used Beavers in 2023 election. We used in 2019, and by now we're supposed to know that there are some things that need to be done. So I'll be very, very surprised if in 2027 there's no real-time vote counting and there's no AI for facial voters or biometrics, facial recognition or biometrics. I'm very surprised if there's no that now being integrated into AI, into Beavers. So whatever INEC is doing right now, whatever their budget is, anything they are doing right now, they should be able to infuse AI into Beavers for efficient vote counting and efficient voters identification and verification, because people get to the polling units and they won't be able to vote because their thumbprint did not work or their face was not recognized by the machine. So I just feel like in 2027 we'll do better if we have AI infused for voters identification, and basically for that real-time
Transmission of results.
Transmission of data. This can be done using blockchain. Like blockchain, for example, can we use computer vision to read ballot images? All you need to just do is scan. Funny how we have this number on our voters card called the voters identification number. So now, I really don't know what that identification number is for if we cannot use it to track everybody's votes. Because if you are, and another thing is, AI can also help us to detect anomaly during election. For example, when you are entering a password on your phone, after entering the wrong password 3 times, sometimes your phone tells you, did you forget your password? Do you want to change it? I don't know if you have experienced that. So AI can flag unusual spikes during election. Let's say if there are places where rigging is taking place and AI sees that the time that you're supposed to use to thumbprint, filling your ballot paper is supposed to be a minute per person. Then in 1 minute, 4 people have already completed that process, or 5 people, or 10 people. It should be able to detect an anomaly that no, there's probably a glitch here, or the number of votes is increasing exponentially. No, there's a glitch. So these are where we actually need the AI. The basic, like the most important place we need the AI for election that I feel like INEC should be looking at is anomaly detection if they really want to get rid of rigging. And secondly, the real-time transmission of election. So we can do other things by saying, oh, we want to do AI-powered monitoring, like detecting misinformation, hate speech, and the rest, because AI can actually detect fake speech and incitement. So it should be able to alert INEC or security agencies and media instantly. So,
Okay. Okay. Talking about misinformation and rumors and all of that, it is a norm that during elections we get to see all of this happening, all of these rumors spread very fast. Now, artificial intelligence, is something we know because what we already see it do is already it already tells us that there is more we can achieve with it. But somehow I don't know if it's the fact that is it that we don't have enough hands in the system. I really want to always I'm really confused sometimes on this thing because we have leaders that travel, they're well traveled, they go outside the country, they see a system that works, and when they come back, somehow it just feels like they don't want to implement it. Is it that we don't have ready hands here, or is it that great hands are not reaching out to them? Where exactly do you think the problem is?
So I just believe INEC is doing their best, but they can do better. And they know all of this. We see how sometimes we write proposals to agencies and the rest, and you just get thrown out, basically because it is too sophisticated and all. So someone will tell me now that if we are infusing AI into elections, it can cause some digital divide because, of course, we might have a place where there is no network and the rest.
Exactly.
But there are ways around this. There are like local storage where votes can be counted, and the election platform can be built on a kind of server that do not need the actual network to function. And once it's on that server, it means with more security, it won't be able to be tampered with. So all we are trying to curb here is that we need a smarter system to help us carry out our elections. I believe INEC have every capable hands they need to do all of this. And I even believe they are infusing it on the beavers, because for them to have come up with a system that was supposed to give real-time vote counts, then they actually had a very good idea. But the implementation
to cut you there, please. You said INEC has enough hands. Now, it's one thing to have hands in Abuja alone. It's one thing to have hands in your village. Enough hands that would, reach your village. Now, I know that Nigerians are very intelligent, but I feel like we can only handpick those that are vast, are well learned in these topics. I don't think we have enough of them in this country, except you want to tell me otherwise.
Okay, so as simple as AI is, anybody trained in a week should be able to handle a particular, when it comes to INEC, because there are people that have been doing elections for years. I personally, I did the election back in Ekiti as a core member. So I was a presiding officer. So presiding officers are always core members most of the times. And these are people who just left school, who are serving. And we tend to go for trainings on how to use the machine and or every security. So I feel there's enough hands to do this when it comes to election. There's enough hands for INEC to deploy to everywhere. In fact, there were corpers or core members that didn't want to do election, and we still had enough core member to do the elections. So I really do not think we have limited hands to carry out this.
It's one thing to have core members, and then it's another to have core members with integrity. I also participated in the elections as a core member, and I know that some consciences were bought. It's no news, you get. So Nigeria being where it is right now, I know the government has played their part, but somehow we as citizens, we have our own part to play. A lot of Nigerians are not patriotic. I can tell you this for a fact. So when we want to bring up a system that should work, seemingly should work, how many Nigerians are willing to, say no to bribery, to corruption? We can't just keep blaming a system up there. It takes everyone. The government is for the people, by the people, and all of that. But it's not a one-man thing. It's not a Tinubu thing. It's not an INEC chairman thing. It's a responsibility to every individual, as long as you're a citizen of this country, to be patriotic, to have it as a burden that you want this country to work. I may be wrong, but I don't think we are there yet as citizens. If you want to prove me wrong, then you can go ahead, please.
So yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, it boils down to all the citizens, because when you go to polling units, it is the people who you're actually supposed to be choosing their leaders that gets votes. So you're at some polling units and you see some party agents talking to voters to vote this particular candidates, and they come. You have even tell, because normally you're supposed to vote on your own. You don't. Someone is not supposed to come close to you or use your, except you're an elderly person. But it has gotten so bad that people get bought. The highest bidder, the highest buyer, buys the voter at the polling unit. I won't dispute the fact that you feel a lot of conscience were bought in the last election, like core members and the rest. Some of them are probably under duress or under, they were just under some kind of pressure and the rest. That's where AIC comes in. If AI should be able to alert, like if there's something, we have a system that if any violence is happening here, if so much movement and pressure is detected, it should alert a particular security agency. So people's conscience.
So I can detect pressures.
Yeah, sure.
The same way. How would that happen?
Okay, how do you think your Google Map is able to detect that there's traffic on the way?
Wow.
That's because there are so many people on that road at that point. There are so many cars passing through that path at the same time. So, like, AI can make life really easy for us if we tend to use it the right way. So, like I'm going to leave us with this. The election, smart election will not start with AI. They will start with belief and the effort by both the citizen, the agency, and the electorate. Like everybody should put an effort to be able to make sure that their votes count. So rebuilding voters' confidence is not just enough. The voters should also make sure that they vote according to every law in place. Like, don't get, we all have interest, really. Like, I have someone I want to vote for, you have someone you want to vote for. So it should be about voting because you feel this person is going to make an impact, not about voting because you feel this person is giving you this also amount to vote. It is so. I wanted to cite an example, but so I attended an election in a particular state in Nigeria, and I saw how a whole lot of older people came out to vote. There were fewer younger ones. So I'm like, funny how it was not a general election, but it was a governorship election. That particular state do not do election during the general election. So I was like, so I'm seeing someone who is an old woman who, I'm sorry to say, who could not walk so well. And you do not really even know if this woman will be here during the next election. But basically, they are the ones choosing leaders for their children. Okay, so and how did they choose? They just give them envelope and they'll come and vote. But the young ones are not there to vote. They are not there to cast their votes. So even if Beavers is AI loaded and all, it will start with belief. So we need this technology not to only work, but for people to believe in it, and not just to work, for it to work for everyone. Digital divide might be a problem, but with what I said about having a local server and the rest, we'll be able to really overcome it. There's nothing we want to do. If we want to do it, we'll definitely be able to do it. And I feel that every Nigerian should come out and vote. Our votes actually really count. Our vote will count, because if it doesn't count, our vote counts. That's all I would just say. Imagine everybody feeling like
I hope
their
you're
vote
able
will
to convince Nigerians that our votes count indeed. And then let's deviate a bit from the actual elections. Before the elections happen, there is a registration process. There are some that have lost their voters card, and all of those processes that prepares INEC for the D-Day. Now, AI, we have said, is the way forward, but we cannot also deny the fact that AI is not 100%, perfect.
Okay.
There can be glitches, there can be, sometimes mistakes here and there, and such mistakes sometimes can, imagine a mistake in such data made available to the public. You know what it would do. Sometimes people those that feel like this is the way forward, or those that are clamoring for the change, you cannot have different view or oppositions that comes to want to make a big deal or make a mess. We know how social media works. A little drama can just turn things around, and when we say it's technology, then sometimes it just creates room for unnecessary chaos, unnecessary drama here and there on social media, and generally the views of people. How can we carefully tread this path, considering the fact that not everybody is in support of this, especially those occupying positions now, that when you bring in this system, it will definitely take them off their jobs. I mean INEC. Now, specifically, I'm talking about INEC. So how can we tread carefully to not cause chaos, trying to implement a technology that is quite new? I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah, I do. I believe AI have its own risk, and
Yes.
I feel like I said the last time, AI is not really here to take anybody's job. It's just here to change the way the job probably works and just evolve. So if INEC want to infuse AI into elections, all they need to do is train their staff on how to use a particular system or model that is going to be used for elections. It's not really taking them, because INEC is a particular agency that needs more hands than we can imagine. So it's just for them to embrace this change and make sure we use AI for what it is meant for. While I will also say that there should be some form of ethical considerations when deploying this, because it will need some legislation, oversight, and transparency. So people are also needed to do that. So people are not really losing their jobs. It's just here to help them do better, like to rebuild confidence by showing the value of the vote, of each vote, and to basically involve the electoral citizens in the whole election process. And all of this will not just be achieved overnight. There are a lot of things I feel like INEC can do to bring it forward, like trainings, build tech civil societies for youth, trainings for their staff, leverage on youth tech engagements, and also it will really help because smart election will not just start with AI. Like I said, start with us, and we need technology to work for everyone. So the staff of INEC too should also welcome this, and it will even make life easier for them. Imagine if instead of traveling all the way now to Abuja to go and submit results, it has already got into Abuja. So the election result travel via the channel which is supposed to travel by. Accident could even happen, materials being deployed to states. Like you get, all of this can be reduced just.
But when we talk about AI, systems can be hacked too.
Yeah, system. That's why I said something about the ethical considerations. There could even be some bias in data, like wrong data input and the rest. So when we are doing all of this, we also have to put all those in place. Any system can be hacked, but there will be better results when we have this. And the earlier we start using, maybe even deploying it in local elections first, then graduating, looking at like checking the glitches and all, then updating with time, it will help us a lot because there are countries using this already, and we can also do it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's even take the whole discussion away from polling units. It's not, we have advanced countries that people get to vote from the comfort of their homes. Yes, yeah. I know that this is possible, but somehow, I really don't know why we're still slow in implementing this. I don't want to blame INEC or the government or, try to put the whole narrative that they don't want it because they want to, have their way. But again, Nigeria is such a unique place. It is not enough for us to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons that are versed in this knowledge. Again, I would say that. What about the majority? Are we talking about the majority of Nigerians? If we decide to say everybody sit in your house and vote, how many people would vote really? We have rural communities where they don't have access to technology. They don't even, up till now in this time and age.
So digital divide.
How can we have a system where everyone, like majority of Nigerians, are educated and enlightened on the use of technology, AI specifically in elections, so that we can advance from going to the polling units and just sitting in the comfort of our homes?
Okay, so even in some advanced countries, they really do not sit at the comfort of their homes all the time. There are some voting machines at various points where they can just go to vote. Some can vote using their voter's identification number online and all. So that's why I almost talked about it when I spoke about if you check your voter's card, there's a VIN. That means it's peculiar to you. You should be able to use it to vote even without your card. Maybe there could be a platform where you can just input your voter's identification number and your vote counts. There could also be, it's just, let's do it this way. There are banks. You can go to the bank to withdraw cash, right?
Yeah.
You can go to a POS vendor to withdraw cash. You can go to the ATM machine to withdraw cash. And you can also do online bank transfer to someone you want to give money to. So there are about 4 different modes of you withdrawing and transferring funds, which if it's in the village, you can give someone by hand. If it's in the city, you can transfer or just use your ATM card. So the people in the village might not need to do the online voting. In fact, to reduce the number of human force we are deploying into the elections. If people vote, people know that they have 48 hours to vote. You can either go to the polling unit or vote with your VIN or vote by texting a particular number to a particular number online, like vote this person to 3228. So all these votes will now be collated in a central system, but everything still counts. So that's the way to go. And I feel like when we are ready and we believe this could work, I don't know why a lot of Nigerians are technophobic, because artificial intelligence is actually not here to replace the votes. It is here to protect it. Imagine if my dad in the village can just text an SMS, vote this candidate to this number on his phone, and his vote will count. Or either go to the polling unit to still go and turn prints, if he can, which people will still do. Or me that I'm not in the country, I could vote using my VIN.
Have different channels.
Yeah, different channels.
Voting, so that we're not restricted to just one. And then I believe that will also reduce the queues.
Exactly, because some people don't. Once it is it 6 p.m. I forgot, or 3 p.m. The lines are being closed. You can't join the line again to vote, so you have to be there before that time. This will reduce the number of people at polling units. It will reduce. It will even make us have more votes, because people in the diaspora want to choose their leaders too. So that will help us a lot. So we can use the machine mind to defend human votes and choices. So in a country where we have low trust, AI offers transparency, and that's if you build it right. So the process of data, data travel very fast. So you can process data very fast, and it can answer a lot of questions for us, because the biggest of our problem in 2023 election was that people didn't really believe their votes will count. And in 2027, I do not think our electoral threat will be, it might not be ballot box snatching or breaking. It might just be some algorithm fed lies, which are already seeing now. If we cannot use AI to also detect some fake news and some lies being peddled around election, because before election is even over, you start hearing some propaganda a lot. So with AI generated fake news, we might just be having more issues. So we also need AI to detect fake news.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Fake and us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for staying with us today on Global Morning. We have been enlightened, and I am sure my viewers out there have also been enlightened. All you have mentioned is true, but the problem and what we pray for is to have people of integrity in the system to make sure that votes indeed that are transmitted technologically will count. We don't have, human beings at different points, to alterate the figure or, formulate figures. Well, we're hoping it should start somewhere. Yeah, so we'll start from somewhere. Thank you so much, Deji, for joining.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to give my final thoughts.
We're far behind time.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll take your thoughts on another episode or another Global Morning. I'm sure we'll definitely have you again to give us more of this, because our country needs it. Yeah, thank you. You have been helpful this morning. And at this point, we draw the curtains on Global Morning this morning. Have you been inspired? I have been. I hope and pray that we have the INEC chairman watching this right now to implement everything that has been discussed. We have lots of other activities lined up for you on Global Television this morning. Please stay with us on Global Television. Make sure you tune in at intervals to see what we have for you today. At this juncture, I will say goodbye. I still remain your host, Priscilla Obasi, and do have yourself an amazing day. Goodbye.